Okay, so this is the residential resale real estate purchase contract form. Um, this first page is a checklist for you. It's a rundown of basically the main things that you're gonna want to remember throughout your transaction from start to finish. And this is something that you probably want to hang on to from start to finish throughout your transaction. It's a really good reference, quick reference guide. So we're just going to go ahead and go through this really quickly. Attention buyer, you are entering into a legally binding agreement. Read the entire contract before you sign it. Review the residential seller's property disclosure statement. Review the inspection paragraph, and that breaks down in detail there. Confirm your ability to obtain insurance and insurability of the property during the inspection period, which is typically 10 days, unless, of course, there's an acceleration clause, which can decrease it to 7 days, 5 days sometimes, just depends on the scenario. Apply for a home loan now if you have not done so already. This, I'm not sure why they put this down here, to be honest. This should actually be at the top because this is one of the first things you have to do in order to even get under contract to purchase a home. You have to be pre-qualified with your lender, and you have to have a pre-qualification letter. Some lenders call it other things, but basically that's the gist of it. Read the title commitment within 5 days of receipt. There are a lot of things that will happen at the end of your transaction. This is one of them. Read the CC&Rs and all other governing docs within 5 days of receipt. This is another important form because this is the form that tells you what you can and can't do to the property and some other things about the property that you might want to know. And then at the very end, you're going to conduct a pre-closing walkthrough. If the property is unacceptable, speak up at that time because it's the very last step in the whole process. After that, the closing may be too late. So we're just going to go through the rest of this really quickly. It's about 9 pages. So the first part is pretty self-explanatory. You got the buyer's name, the seller's name, or as identified in section 9C. Keep in mind each transaction is case by case, so they're all going to look completely different as far as the information that's filled out. Address, city, county, assessor number, the zip code, legal description. Now, don't stress out just yet. This is going to be filled out primarily by the real estate agent, but the real estate agent will be going back and forth with you until this looks right before sending it off and presenting it as an offer with your pre-qualification letter and any other forms if needed. Okay, so as you go down here, close of escrow, you will always discuss that with your realtor. It's typically anywhere from 30 to 45 days out from the time you are under contract. Possession, it breaks down what the seller shall deliver, the addenda incorporated. So this is anything that applies to the property. So if there's an additional clause, if there's a buyer contingency, if it has a well, if it has an HOA, lead-based paint disclosure, typically we only need to select this when the property is older than 1978. There could be a possibility of the presence of lead-based paint, so we want to disclose that. And then, of course, all these other things that could occur. Each property is different. Okay, section 1G is fixtures and personal property, so it breaks that down. There's different things that can convey with the property. These are the pretty typical ones: the refrigerator, washer, dryer. You would just select the boxes that would convey or not convey with the property. And this would all be negotiated prior to, so everyone would have a discussion about this prior to when filling this out, before filling this out. And this would be completed after everyone agrees. So financing, this is actually the beginning step, as I mentioned before, where you would talk to your lender first, whether the lender came as a referral from the realtor or you found the lender first before the realtor. you want to get your pre-qualification done first. Then the lender will go through all the other financing details. I am not a licensed lender at this time. So at this time, I can't really go into details about rates or anything like that. Title and escrow, this is the company that handles all the monies. Title and escrow is typically how we do things here in the state of Arizona. Some other states are attorney states, so they'll use attorneys. This is additional instructions, release of earnest money, prorations of assessments and fees, any information on liens, disclosures. This is a whole section on the different types of disclosures that could apply. And then this is the section that verifies whether or not the property is older or newer than 1978. And then here you have the affidavit of disclosure, changes during escrow. Be sure to review all of this, guys, because this is all very, very important. Get very familiar. You will learn a lot about the entire transaction just by reviewing this one form. Warranties, you'll have this conversation with your realtor. Typically, I have buyers that do not purchase a home warranty during the transaction. They usually wait till after we close, but that is always negotiable between you and your realtor. It's case by case. Due diligence period. It typically applies to the inspection period. Once you're under contract, you have 10 days to do an inspection and either accept the condition of the home or not, or counter with, hey, can you fix this? And then we'll be good to go kind of situation. So different things can happen here. Sometimes we'll put in there an acceleration clause and it'll shorten the inspection period. That is a whole separate video. I can go into detail about that when those kinds of situations apply. We have the breakdown or the basics here about insurance. If homeowner's insurance is a material matter to a buyer, buyers shall apply for and obtain written confirmation of the availability and cost of homeowner's insurance for the premises from buyer's insurance company during the inspection period. Buyer understands that any homeowner's fire, casualty, flood, or other insurance desired by buyer or required by lender should be in place at close of escrow. Insurance is really important to a lot of people, so I would highly recommend reviewing that section and having that discussion with family if need be to decide if that's what you want to do. Of course, continue to go through. It talks about whether it's on septic, sewer system, or alternative system. That's really important to know as well. Swimming pool barriers, inspection period. And as you continue to go down, it kind of just wraps it all up for you. Again, homeowner's warranty plan. Typically, I've had people choose not to do this, and that they would select it after. So they would typically pick buyer declines the purchase of a home warranty, because I have buyers that like to shop for their own after or at the end of the transaction, but that is up to you. Final walkthrough is really important. Final walkthrough is when you want to spot any remaining, repairs or replacements that might need to be done. As you continue on, FERPTA, this is a foreign tax act that applies to property that's anywhere from $300,000 or more. So unless your property is $300,000 or more, you don't really have to worry about this, and that's only if you're selling. That's a whole nother video again. Cure period, it kind of talks about the remedies that can take place if there's some sort of breach, or maybe somebody goes unresponsive, or a delay of some sort. Additional terms section, you can fill this out. Pretty much you guys can put in here whatever you want, as long as all parties involved agree on the terms, any additional terms, if any, in the transaction. Risk of loss, it goes over that. Permission, Arizona law, time is of the essence. This is super important. The parties acknowledge that the time is of the essence in the performance of the obligations described herein, meaning each party has to perform. If each party does not perform, they are in breach of the contract and it affects everyone. And that is never fun because, of course, everyone wants to get paid, everyone wants to have a home or sell a home, and that just holds up the whole process. Compensation, that's always negotiated between the seller and the agents and the brokers, so you don't have to worry about that part. Copies and counterparts, days, calculated time periods, entire agreement, subsequent offers, cancellation periods, notice. You also have a release period here, a release of broker information here. The very bottom has everyone involved. So this part's pretty self-explanatory. Broker on behalf of the buyer, in which case, if I was representing you as the buyer, that would be me. We would put our company's information in there, our licensing information in there. Same with the seller. Seller would have to accept everything, and everyone would sign an initial and it would become official. So that's pretty much the purchase contract in a nutshell. You can review this as many times as you would like. The hyperlink to locate this form is in your buyer advisory. If you do not have your buyer advisory or cannot locate it at this time, reach out to your realtor to send you another copy. And yeah, so that's it, guys. Thanks again.